I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to drink coffee while I'm.
That
Recording
is
in progress.
totally fine. Hello, everyone. My name is Darcy Drager. I'm the chair of the Morrison County Democratic Committee, and we are joined today by candidate Beth Adubato. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Who is running in the 7th Congressional District. Today's screening committee members who are joining us are Brian Considine, Gary Colucci, Bill Kersey, Mike Delamater, myself, um, and Andy Meisner. So we are just going to get right to it. And I'm going to ask the first question, which is, tell us about yourself. What inspired you to run for Congress, and what is the core message or vision you hope to communicate to voters?
Hmm. Okay, so I decided to run. Well, I've always wanted to run for office, and I was setting myself up to run for office in the early 2000s, and then life changed.
Mhm.
And I ended up not living in Essex County anymore, and I found myself living in Union County. And so, I'm an Eagleton alumna. Um, I've worked on campaigns since I was in high school, and I've been really, I have I have a master's in public policy from Blaustein, even though I'm a criminologist. So this is always something that's been very, very important to me. And last year, or 2024, I went into my firehouse in New Providence and I voted and I came outside and I burst into tears because I thought, oh my God, we're going to lose. I think it was partly because there were all of these Trumpers in the actual voting area, which is so illegal. And um, and I realized, wait, I live here now. And so I thought this is a good opportunity. And I didn't do it right away. I actually really thought that if I would just support someone else. Back in 1993, I went to Emily's List fundraising boot camp, and they taught us that name ID is actually more important than a lot of other things. And I thought, well, I've got name ID in the state. I was on News 12 New Jersey for a really long time. I was an on-air person there. And all of this combination of my background, everything I do, I think is important. So, as a criminologist and all the research I do, I think that's very important. As a professor, in 2017, I started a nonprofit organization called the Linda Org, and Linda helps women who are adversely affected by the criminal justice system. At that time, when I started Linda, and now it operates through student organizations, which is a great model because we don't need a lot of overhead. And then the students learn as they're doing this. And then we can have different communities being served by the different colleges. So the point of this is that I felt that I could do enough for society by being a professor and running this nonprofit. And because I'm the vice president of the adjunct union at Rutgers, so all of this I thought was enough. And then I decided in this one moment, maybe I could take all of this experience and put it into one person's public policy, vessel. And so that's why I decided to run, because all of those things are very important to me.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Andy, next question.
Hey Beth, I think I have that same mug in my cabinet.
Do
I
you?
forgot. I do have a Hillary mug. Yes, I do.
I love this mug.
Hey, my question is, Congress requires negotiation and coalition building. Can you give an example from your career where you successfully worked across differences to achieve a goal?
Okay, yes. So as I just mentioned, I'm the vice president of the Rutgers Adjunct Union. And presently, I am on the contract campaign team again. And I've actually been serving on this board since I was a doctoral student. So in 2007. I I was walking down the street in Newark, right next to the campus, and there was a fire. And I stopped to put out the fire. And then this other person helped me, and everybody else walked away and didn't help. And then that person turned to me and said, "Do you want to be on the union executive committee? You seem like a person that helps other people." And so that's how I got involved with it. But I've always been a union member. I was an actor, and I'm a member of SAG after since I was 23. So I'm a very strong union supporter member. My father was in the union, my grandfather was in the union, my daughter is in the union. So I have worked, I guess across the aisle is not really the other political side, but I have bargained with administration. And so this is something that is really tricky. And it was very tricky during the Christie administration. And I can't say that we won all the things that we asked for, but we learned how to work and how to make Governor Christie understand that, what he wanted to do was not in the best interest of the students and the university. And so I do have that experience in my past. And so right now what we are doing is this very same thing because we are in an emergency situation, which is why I'm drinking coffee, because we just had a meeting because the new president of Rutgers has just announced a budget that will cause 25% of all the adjunct faculty to lose their jobs for no reason, for no reason. And that he released a standstill budget. And so what we were just doing was thinking, how do we make the president understand that this is not the way to make up a budget deficit? It's not because what he wants to do, and so this is our plan, and this is why I think that I can be good at this, right? So the plan is he wants to make Rutgers an R1 top 10 school, which is great. We're all for that. But if you want that, you need to have your full-time faculty producing research at a very high level. That's how you get your R1 rating, to have more research and have more citations. Well, full-time faculty can't do all that research if they have to teach more classes. And if you get rid of adjuncts, then you won't have people who can teach those classes. And it seems pretty simple that that's not really the way to do it. And the complete budget of all of the adjuncts who teach the majority of undergraduate classes is $5 million, which is nothing in the Rutgers world, but it's people's livelihoods. And so I think that, we've been working on this and really trying to come up with a plan that makes the other side understand that there's a different way of going about what they're trying to achieve. I hope that
Yeah,
answers.
no, excellent. Thank you. Okay, the next question goes to Brian.
Hi,
Hi.
hi. So this is about policy priorities.
Okay.
What do you identify as the most urgent legislative need for NJ7 as a whole, and how would you address it during your first year in office?
Okay. So I usually joke and say the very first thing that I would try to address is to make sure that students learn civics so that they could actually know what's going on, and then maybe they would vote with a more educated background. Anyway, but you know, my priorities, as I mentioned when I talked about, I need to do, I need to help women, and apparently women are a second tier issue according to the research. But all of these things that are affecting everybody affect women more. And so I would say that we would have to go for affordability. And I understand that CD7 is a wealthier district, but not everyone is wealthy, right? And so we do have to take this under consideration that all of this is just not affordable right now for people. And so how do we make it more affordable? And I guess that would have to be the first priority, and getting money in people's pockets. In public institutions, I think we could have a cost of living increase. pay increase, not a cost of living increase. And I just saw that, so I was really excited about, and okay, so this is funny because I have my Hillary mug. Da, da, da. I never was a Bernie bro. I never was a Bernie bro. To me, Bernie didn't focus enough on women's issues and gun control. But I do like what he says about taxing billionaires because this is terrible. And I should not be paying a higher percentage for my taxes than Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. That is disgraceful. And we can solve many of these problems. So I do think it's affordability. How do we get more money in people's pockets? And one way also would be to have healthcare costs go down. And I actually support universal healthcare. So I guess affordability, the sort of triangle of healthcare and getting more money in people's pockets. And then today, just today, I saw that Cory Booker, I don't know if you all saw this, came out with Keep Your Pay Act. And this, the Keep Your Pay Act, will have you're a family of two, I mean, a two income earning family with a median income, well, not a median income, but at 75,000, your first 75,000 would be free, in other words. And so if you're a single filer, as I am, it would be 30 something. And I think that would really help. And I'm glad to see that we're starting to realize that people just can't afford these bills right now between the groceries and now the gasoline and the cost of healthcare. We have to get all of that under control. So it has to be the first priority.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, Bill, you have the next question, please.
Yes, good evening, Ms. Adubato.
Good evening.
What do you see as the most pressing challenges in the Morris County portion of the district, and how would you use your role in Congress to address them?
Okay, so honestly, I'm sure there are lots of other issues that are pressing, but right now I believe that Roxbury is not just pressing because of the actual, what is happening, but just symbolically how important this is. So in every aspect of this, these warehouses that the government is buying, I don't know if any one of you you may probably have seen this, but we're paying a lot more money than these warehouses were worth maybe 6 to 9 months ago. I mean, something is really rotten here. Okay. So that's just one aspect of it. And the other aspect of it, of course, is the fact that we're warehousing human beings, and we don't want that in our communities. And it's very interesting because it's definitely not completely across the aisle, but yeah, there are plenty of Republicans who don't want this either. I mean, this is a blight in our society. And it's also really, it's really endemic of the problems that we have with immigration, right? And scapegoating people who are not what they say, what this government is saying they are, right? So all of this, I know there are other issues, but right now I think this is our most pressing issue, the whole entire thing, right? So what do we do about this? First of all, we don't allow this warehousing of human beings in our communities. We protest, we make sure everybody knows that we don't want it. And you can see that it is having some effect, but they're also throwing everything at us all at one time. And it's very hard to combat all of it. So I think that New Jersey, I think that people are doing a great job at Roxbury. And I wish I could be there more often. But they're running us ragged with forms in these 6 counties that we're in. And we are all over the place all the time. But seriously, we have to make sure that we fight something like this on every level. First of all, I do not believe in any kind of for-profit prisons whatsoever. And so that's another layer of why this is so wrong and so emblematic of the rot in this administration. So I think that is something that we would have to take a lead, and then, what do we do instead? We talk about there are solutions that we can have for immigration that are better. We actually had a plan in place, a bipartisan immigration plan. Of course, you all know that Trump torpedoed so that he could run on hatred, racism, and getting immigrants out of the country. So that's what he used. We have to have a good immigration plan in place. Okay, can I go a little bit more on this one?
Actually, I was just about
Just
getting
stop
ready to
me.
move you on to the next one.
Okay,
Because
okay,
we do have a few more questions, but no,
okay,
great answer. And
okay.
definitely Roxbury is top of mind for all of us for sure. Brian in particular, who is our Roxbury Municipal Chair. So living it every day. Okay, Mike, can you take the next question? Do you need me to read it?
No, I got it.
Yeah.
Yep. NJ7 presents this challenging electoral landscape. A competitive mix of suburban and conservative leaning communities, with Congressman Kane holding the advantages of incumbency and a significant fundraising operation.
Yep.
Describe your overall strategy for building a campaign capable of winning the district. How will you develop organizational strength, build a competitive fundraising base, and leverage local support from Morris County Democrats to demonstrate electability across all parts of the district?
Okay. All right. So I think you all are not going to like my answer. But my answer is my answer, and I'm not going to lie. All right. So I'm a social scientist. I look at a lot of demographics and I look at numbers. And I also know a lot of people who are Republicans who live in CD7. I do not think that we are going to get Republicans to come over to our side. I don't think so. I don't think no matter how moderate the nominee is, I do not believe that that's going to get us over the hump. So my idea is to go after unaffiliated voters, women Republicans who are concerned about the attack on women's reproductive rights, and now the most recent attack on our voting rights for all the women who changed their last names. I mean, what a terrible thing. So the groups that I plan to work with are unaffiliated voters, those those Republican women who are fed up. And I have to tell you, I do have some working on my campaign, but you know how many there are? Six. It's only six. So it's not that great of a number, but maybe we can find more of them. And also disenfranchised Democrats. So I'm going to tell you the truth about what I say when I say to my students, how come you like what questions do you have, first of all, during the election, during the last election? Not this past gubernatorial, but the election, right? What are your questions? We don't have any questions. What do you mean you don't have any questions? Both sides are the same. They're both the same. Democrats and Republicans are both the same. They're both crooked. And then I say, no, that's not true. That's not true. Democrats are good people. We are good people. But I do understand now what they mean because I think that Democrats have to have the will. We have to have the will to actually make decisions that are not just based on our own wallets, that we have to understand that we need a bigger group under the tent. And so I feel like we have to make sure that we reach out to working people more. And I also will mention that I was a reporter in the middle of the country for 4 years of my life before I moved back to New Jersey. And I was a reporter in Michigan and Western Pennsylvania and Alabama. And every time I talked to working people, to Democrats, they said, the Democrats don't care about us anymore. They don't care about us anymore. They are, limousine liberals. Well, we need to get rid of that label and we need to show our disenfranchised Democrats that we care about them also. And then finally, there are a whole lot of unregistered young people living in CD7. And there are a lot of people who are going to be able to vote for the first time this coming November. And now, isn't it great that people can register to vote when you're 17 if you'll be 18 before November 3rd? So those are the groups I'm going after. And, those other 5 or 6 Republican women. But I really don't know if we can get enough people who care really a lot about their taxes and things like that more than they care about social issues. And so I want to make this more of a populist campaign and reaching out.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. All right, Gary. So that brings us to the end of our just sort of the same set of questions that we asked to all candidates. We now
Okay.
have a candidate specific question, and Gary Colucci is going to ask this.
Okay.
Okay, good evening. Beth, your career as a criminal justice professor, nonprofit founder, and advocate for survivors of violence clearly shapes your priorities.
Yes.
How would you draw on that experience to address public safety, criminal justice reform, and support for survivors of violence in New Jersey, '07? And what concrete legislation or programs would you propose to deliver on those commitments?
Okay. Wow. That's a really very good, I know there are a lot of points
A
in
lot
that.
of
Okay.
stuff there.
A lot of stuff in there. All right. So let's start with there is a women's health protection bill that was introduced in 2022 that did not get passed. And so I think that it does more than ensure reproductive rights. It also ensures that we have medical coverage for women. There are many women who receive their medical care through Planned Parenthood. This is not, whatever they say about Planned Parenthood, there are many people who use it for their birth control, their STI testings, and the cancer screening. My daughter uses Planned Parenthood for that. So I would definitely make sure in that way we would restore that. I'm going to go now to the criminal justice reform. All right. So I actually wrote a book about this. And one of the things that we do is we spread fear of crime, and we can spread misinformation because of fear of crime. And so what we really need is we need true criminal justice reform based on evidence. So evidence-based criminal justice reform. So for example, when people say, oh, immigrants are committing all this crime, no, indeed they are not. And this is how these kinds of things are sold to the American people, right? But it's not just the American people. We also have people in CD7 who believe these things. I went to a town meeting in a county meeting, actually, in Warren County, where you had 2 groups of people talking about immigrants. One saying we need the immigrants here to work on our farms, and the other group saying no, these people are criminals and they're taking our jobs. I mean, it's baffling. So we need to really make sure that people understand crime better. I don't know what we do about Fox News. I don't know what we do about Fox News. But we need to somehow get the message out there that we cannot be fearing the other and scapegoating people, because that makes us want to have more prisons and more punitive sentences. We definitely need, we're going in the right direction right now with drug courts, because that keeps people out of prison, and it keeps people in the community, working in the community, getting the help they need. So I do believe that we need, from top to bottom. I don't have enough time to explain my whole criminal justice, all the ideas that I have for shaping the system. And we've never had a criminologist in Congress. And I think that's really interesting, because we have a lot of lawyers, and lawyers really do understand the law. But what they don't do is what we do also. So I think what we are is we are sociologists who know the law too. And so we study all of these problems from the beginning. So when I talk about healthcare reform, then we have to say things like, then don't end Head Start. Because one of the ways that we can make sure that people do better in the world is to make sure that they like school. The the number one factor in reducing adult poverty is making sure they get a high school diploma. But when kids don't like school or they're in socially disorganized schools, then they don't do well. So all of these programs can help society, and the money that we spend up front will save us money on the back end. So I believe in true criminal justice reform from top to bottom, and also domestic abusers should never have guns.
Amen. Amen to that. Excellent. Okay, so now we have a short policy lightning round, we call it, which is just
Okay.
like 10 very quick questions. Just a yes, no answer is fine.
Okay.
They're just basically checking on alignment with basic democratic values and policy planks. So,
Okay.
Andy, over to you.
Okay, Beth,
Yes.
just 10 quick questions.
Okay.
Do you support access to affordable health care for all, including protections for pre-existing conditions?
Yes.
Okay. Do you support policies that promote racial, gender, and LGBTQ plus equity?
Yes.
Do you support policies to address climate change and expand clean energy?
Yes.
Do you support reproductive rights, including a woman's right to choose?
Yes.
Do you support protecting and expanding voting rights?
Yes.
Do you support comprehensive immigration reform, including a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants?
Yes.
Do you support federal investment in public education and affordable higher education?
Yes.
Do you support policies to protect Social Security, Medicare, and other essential programs for seniors?
Yes.
Do you support investment in broadband infrastructure and digital access to bridge the technology divide?
Yes.
Do you support, last one, do you support federal initiatives for disaster resilience, climate adaptation, and infrastructure modernization?
100%. Because I have to say that most of the stories I ever did in Morris County had something to do with some kind of flooding. So 100%, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So we have two more questions. This is one that we're asking all candidates. Should you not be the nominee after the June primary, will you commit to supporting whoever wins?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, and now we have Brian with our closing question, and at that point we can open it up to the floor if there's any other follow-ups.
Okay.
So Beth, this is probably the hardest question.
Okay.
Campaigning is very hard work. What
Yeah.
makes you happy about it?
I love talking to people. I just do. I love talking to people. I love listening to what they have to say. I like considering their opinions. The other night, I was in Wharton. The Wharton Dems had a meet and greet, and there was a couple talking to me, and then I guess one of the servers said they want to sign your signature, your petition. And so I said, great. And I went over there and they both signed it. And then the husband said to me, after he signed it, he said, so what are your views about the Second Amendment? And I said, well, I do understand that people, want to own guns. Now, remember, I was a reporter in Michigan and Pennsylvania and Birmingham, but I'm from Essex County where we don't really want any more guns, and it's a very crowded area. And so then he said to me, and I thought, well, I'm at the Wharton Dems group, so I thought I was safe in saying that I don't believe that regular citizens should have assault weapons. And then he said he does think they should. And so that was really interesting to me. And I feel like these kinds of, just listening to everybody who agrees with you all the time, that's not really, it's not making you a better candidate. It's not making you a better congressional rep. You need to know what people think. And basically what he was saying was he's a former, he's in the military and he's trained on these things. And then by the end, we came to an agreement that people who do not have training for those kinds of weapons should not have those kinds of weapons. So that's what I love. I love, I love talking to people and finding out what makes them tick and trying to get to a point where we can communicate with each other. That's the best part of it.
Excellent. Beth, thank you so much. Steering committee, do you have any follow-ups that you'd like to ask at this time?
Just, Ms. Adubato, how long have you lived in the 7th Congressional District?
Since 2021. But I do think I lived there before when it was different. I do think that I lived in Milburn and I think I actually don't even know what part of what was what, but yes, I've lived there since 2021. But I lived there before, so I was in Belgium.
Mhm.
And in 2023, I was in Belgium, but I still voted in New Providence. But in 2017 and 2018, I lived in New Providence, and then I moved to Jersey City. And then during COVID, I lived on Long Island. So, but essentially, the patchwork, I guess it's like 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Sorry, that's a weird question for me to answer because but during COVID, I felt like I didn't want to pay to live when I could have lived somewhere for free. So that's
Yep.
what
Thank you.
thank
All right.
you.
Anyone else? All right. Beth, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was wonderful
you.
to learn more about you, to hear more about your policy ideas, and we look forward to seeing you at our nominating convention on Sunday, March 22nd.
Great. Thank you so much. And
Okay.
thank you for having it on Zoom. Really,
Yeah, I know. It makes it easier for everybody.
it really does.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And
Okay.
Beth, we'll
Thanks,
see
Beth.
you
Good
in
night,
Mount
everyone.
Olive in a couple weeks. Thank
Yes.
I'll
you.
see you on Monday. Yes.
The 16th, yes.
The 16th.
Okay.